Chapter 26, Section 2, The Cold War Heats Up. The end of World War II caused a change in the way leaders and people thought about war. The devastation caused by the atomic bombs dropped on Japan and the efforts of the Soviet Union to gain atomic weapons caused fear throughout the world. The Marshall Plan. The United States did not want to repeat the mistakes of World War I. So this time the U.S. would help to restore the war nations so they might be able to create stable democracies and achieve economic recovery. The Marshall Plan called for the nations of Europe to draw up a program for economic recovery from the war. The United States would then support the program with financial aid. This plan was a response to American concerns that communist parties were growing stronger across Europe and that the Soviet Union might intervene to support more of these communist movements, and the communist empire would then grow and become stronger. The plan also showed the belief that the United States' aid to Europe would create strong democracies and open new markets for American-made goods. The Berlin Airlift. West Germany benefited the most from the Marshall Plan. Stalin decided to close West Berlin to force the Western powers to abandon West Berlin, which was in communist East Germany. A new currency or money was introduced into West Germany, and that gave Stalin the excuse he was looking for. The Soviets blocked access to the Allies to West Berlin. The blockade threatened to create food shortages and other supplies to 2.5 million people in West Berlin. Truman did not want to start a war or military action with Stalin, so he decided to move supplies into West Berlin by plane. The British and American military aircraft made more than 200,000 flights to deliver food, fuel, and other supplies. At the height of the Berlin airlift, nearly 13,000 tons of goods arrived by plane daily. NATO. After the war, countries looked to the United Nations to protect nations from invasion or takeovers by foreign governments and to protect the peace. The Soviet Union used its veto power to prevent the UN from effectively dealing with a number of post-war problems. Thus, Western Europe looked beyond the United Nations for protection from a Soviet aggression. In 1949, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created. Members agreed that an armed attack against one or more of them shall be considered an attack against them all. As a result, the Warsaw Pact came out, and the Soviet Union responded to NATO with the Warsaw Pact, creating a military alliance with its satellite nations in Eastern Europe, which were communist countries. The Soviets developed their atomic bomb in September of 1949. So now the advantage of having a supreme weapon was taken out of the United States, and a balance and a threat of nuclear war scared everyone. In the United States, there was a fear of communism spreading to America and taking over. Alger Hiss had been a high-ranking official in the State Department and then left government service. Whittaker Chambers, a former communist who had become a successful Time magazine editor, accused Hiss of being a communist. Hiss sued Chambers of slander. Chambers then said Hiss was a Soviet spy. After 2 trials, Hiss was convicted of perjury for lying in the slander case. In 1950, he went to prison for 4 years. For most people, the case seemed to prove that there was a real communist threat in the United States. Another case was Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, a married couple who were accused of passing atomic secrets to the Soviets during World War II. After a highly controversial trial, the Rosenbergs were convicted of espionage and executed in 1953. Interesting notes after the Cold War had ended. Historians looked into secret Soviet records, and they indicated that both Alger Hiss and Julius Rosenberg were guilty.